Brandy and I are back doing the Horror Inside podcast. It's been a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, Last one we did was Carrie, and this one is one we really wanted to talk about once we saw it because we love the original so much, and this new one was certainly nothing at all. And
Yeah.
that is the new Pet Sematary 2019 remake.
Ooh.
We saw it, boo. Yeah, boo. We saw it. We saw it, and we already sort of went into it like when it was first announced. It was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And then we saw and then there was the trailer. And then when they just spoiled it themselves, they came out and said, oh yeah,
We're
we
killing Ellie
changed
off.
this. Yeah, we changed this big thing from the book and from the
Yeah.
original that really even made us more annoyed with the whole
Yeah.
movie. But so I guess.
And casting John Lithgow as Judd, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, John Lithgow, and I'm sorry, John Lithgow fans. I know he's a good actor. He's been an actor for many, many years. I've seen him in other stuff. We'll get to that obviously, but I didn't like that either.
Yes, yes, we will. But to start, I guess, why don't we start by talking about that huge change and why we think it was just the biggest fuck up that the movie could have done right off the bat,
Yeah.
killing Ellie instead of Gage, and we can also talk about their bullshit reasonings behind that they've explained. But um,
Yeah.
for, I guess for me, I've said that it's not like, oh, that's just they're doing their own take on it and it's a
Right.
different version and it's a new spin and I'm really into them. Brandy has talked before about how she doesn't care about comic book movies, but it's a
Oh yeah.
similar thing where sometimes people will get upset when they do a comic book movie and they base it off of this story or this character
Right.
and they change something from the original comic and that annoys people and it can
Right.
be for good or worse. But this change, I feel like I've said before, it it's not just a flippant change. It's not just a pointless change that doesn't affect
Exactly.
anything. I've said it fundamentally changes the whole goddamn story.
Yeah, like Pet Sematary is such a deep story. It's not just a horror novel or a horror movie. I've always thought it was much more than that. And that's probably why it appeals to me. Like it's really like emotional and it just sucks you in and you get really and like the whole point of it was Lewis has this bond with his son, like it's like the father son bond, and he like, and the fact that he was so young, it was so tragic. Like it just makes and I the whole bullshit reasoning. Actually, I don't even know what did the director say was the reasoning because I keep hearing different things. First, I heard they couldn't find like two little boys, like twin actors,
Right.
to act as good as like Miko, like to compare to him. Then I heard it was like, well, we just wanted we wanted to be different, and I don't something like that. And then I heard that they couldn't get approval to kill like a 2-year-old because you can't show anything nowadays without people getting in an uproar. So I don't know what the truth actually is, but all those reasons are bullshit.
Right. I think their official reason that they've said is there was the whole thing about, oh, it's hard to get like a 2-year-old to deliver this performance and whatever.
Bravo, Miko Hughes, bravo.
Exactly. And Mary Lambert for being like,
I
yeah,
know,
this
for
is what
being
we're
able to
doing. We're
direct.
not
Yeah, she stuck
I
to her guns. I loved
Right,
her.
and I she also has said before that she really stuck her neck out and said, I want this kid because the
Exactly.
studio obviously wanted twins because you
Twins.
can work
Mhm.
twins more because there's
Right.
two of them. But yeah, she stuck to her guns and she kept it faithful to the original and it didn't fuck the whole thing up.
I
But
know.
I really think the main I'm sure there was part of that they were like, maybe they started to audition 2-year-olds and they're like, this is hard. We can't
Let's
do
give up.
this.
Yeah, they had like deadlines
And
too. They didn't
then
want to push it.
yeah, and then, also I think which is a reason they would never say publicly, I think there is some truth to like thinking that, oh, that's too much in 2019. We cannot show a
Yeah,
2-year-old get
getting
killed,
hit.
hit by a
Yeah.
truck. We could not, that's just too much. People are going to get so upset and boycott this movie
Exactly.
because it's
I think that
2019
too.
and
I
oh,
really do think that that was a big part of it. And it's like they kind of like fake you out in the movie, like they have Gage. Because I was like, oh, did they say that Ellie was gonna die just to trick all of us? That would be kind of cool. Because I really thought like maybe they kind of said that and they lied, and then like, but then
right.
like, because Gage starts to run towards the road, but then obviously
I want to
she
yeah,
gets.
I want to talk about that little moment too, because that wasn't spoiled in the trailer about him running towards the road. I said to
Right.
my brother, like right after it happened in the movie, because we
Hmm.
knew that they were killing Ellie, I
Right.
said to him, that actually would have kind of been a moment that like could have surprised you. Like they
Yes.
have Gage running towards the road for a reason. You're like, oh shit, they're doing this. And
Yeah.
then if they hadn't have spoiled that in the trailer, it would have been, oh fuck, what the hell did they just do? But the
Right.
fact that they spoil it and you don't have that surprise in the movie or that shock that they changed something,
Yeah.
which I feel like we would have gotten pissed 10 minutes, 2 minutes after that
Yeah.
happened if we didn't
But at
know it.
least the initial shock would have been kind of cool. It would have been
Yeah, which
something
is
unexpected.
why they
Yeah.
just shouldn't have given that away in the trailer.
I think because they were scared of maybe they were like we should just come right out and admit it because if Pet Cemetery fans go see it and it's different, like they're gonna be pissed. So like if we just straight up are like, hey guys, we're changing this. I don't know. I feel like it was like they were
I
scared. I
think,
really do feel that they
yeah,
feared the backlash.
yeah. I just still think that would have at the very least been an interesting moment in the movie if we didn't expect it.
Exactly. I do agree with that. Like I do feel like I would have been really pissed afterwards, like you said,
Right.
but like the initial shock would have been like, hey, that's kind of cool. Like at first it probably would have just been like, wow, like did they really just do that type thing? Like that's because I love movies that have like big twists and stuff that really
Yeah.
surprises you that you just don't expect. Like that's like one of my favorite things about, you know, mystery plots and certain things. So that would have been cool, but I also
Hmm.
probably still would have been pissed afterwards, like after the
Oh no, I
initial
would have been too, but
shock.
it
Yeah.
it would have it would have been, you know,
A little
an
more worth it.
experience to see it in theaters without knowing it was going to happen. It would have
Exactly.
been something, like I said, interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, going off of that more, I think another reason why that fundamentally changes, and maybe the big reason why it fundamentally changes and fucks up the story is, okay, so they just thought, oh, okay, we'll kill Ellie for this reason, and this reason. Not thinking that, oh, yeah, but what about Ellie's visions and her shining? How are we
Yeah.
gonna do that
Yeah.
without? And you and I were like skeptical. We were like, are they just gonna not do anything like that at all? And they did end up in the movie, I think, once or twice, which not effective at all. But I
Yeah.
remember towards the end, you had Gage in his crib, just like pointing and yelling
Pascal.
Pascal,
Yeah, which
because
was
they would see him. But it's like that's stupid
that
because it's
was
not
stupid.
like there's no,
And he can't convey, he
yeah,
can't
there's
really
no, he can't
yeah.
do that. No, he
Yeah.
can't communicate that with Rachel like Ellie could, and then that's what drives Rachel to go back.
Yeah.
Um,
That also like I don't know if you want to do the characters in a certain order, but going off of that and
yeah,
going
yeah.
into
I just wanted to
Pascal,
start
like
with this. I just wanted to
well,
start with this big thing because it's the biggest thing. But yeah,
because Pascal was so like down, his character was
he
so
was
downplayed. Like
awful.
he was the guy that played him was like my boy. Like this is really mean, but when my boyfriend and I were watching the death scene, like when he's first brought in and he dies, it was so over dramatic, and his head looks so like it looks so much more realistic. I think in the original, like it was because it was
Hmm.
so practical. In this, it looked like
Did they
again,
like zoom in on his brain or something? Like
yeah, they had to have it
pulsing
overly
something?
gory. I know that the original is pretty gory too, and even in the book, it's described as really gory. Like it's described as his head all busted up. I get it, but I feel like they went way over the top with the blood as they normally do in newer horror movies. And Pascal, like when he died, it was so over dramatic that my boyfriend and I like looked at each other and kind of started laughing. Like it wasn't like this scary like moment. Like I don't know. And it was, and he was so downplayed. He wasn't really in it because we didn't have Ellie's point of view, and he didn't really appear to Rachel, at least from what I remember. So I mean, we should probably
No.
establish that I haven't seen it. I saw it like 2 weeks ago. I saw it when it first came out, so it's been a couple weeks. So I might not
Yeah, me
remember
too.
everything, but
I
yeah,
saw it a
but
little after you did. I think a week after.
yeah. So
Um,
we're not too fresh on it, but I'm trying to remember. I don't
right.
remember him appearing to Rachel at all. I remember like he has way less scenes, which was kind of good
Hmm.
though because he was done awful. I hate to say it and talk about like actors. I just didn't think the actor portrayed it well at all, and I don't know. The oof. I didn't
Yeah.
like that.
Well, I guess we can.
And he was
Um,
more evil. Sorry, I had to say that because I just remembered the scene where he takes Lewis to the pet cemetery, and oh my god, that whole part was so dumb too. But he takes him there, and like you kind of get this sense in the original that he comes off creepy when he comes up to Lewis and stuff, and he's like, "Come on, Doc, don't make me tell you twice."
yeah.
Like he's kind of creepy, but he also has this thing about him where I want to help you. For me,
Right.
in the new one, it felt like he was more like he wasn't a
Yeah.
good spirit. He was,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Which
don't
he
know, maybe,
definitely was in the original. I think
yeah.
it's probably in the book or Mary Lambert or it's something that those people have talked about that uh, uh, Pascal is the good angel on Lewis's shoulder and Judd is the bad angel on his shoulder.
Which is
That's kind
actually
of how.
really funny because Judd's so
Yeah,
awesome. But but yeah,
yeah.
that's
Because Judd
true.
drives him to the pet. He brings him to
Yeah,
the pet cemetery, and
he's the one
Pascal
that
is trying to
unleashes
get
it.
him away from it.
Right. Well, even Brad Greenquist, who shout out to him, who played Pascal in the original, if anybody doesn't know, he said that, remember in that Unearthed and Untold documentary we watched, he said that he had to remind himself that he was playing a good guy, so he put like on the front of his script, he put like a bunch of pictures of angels because he was like, I had to remember I
Yeah.
wasn't like a monster, even though I had this horrible makeup on me and I looked awful. I was like a good guy. I really didn't get that vibe from in the new one. I felt like they had him deliver the lines too menacingly. It was almost like,
Yeah,
is
I
he
wanted
playing
to
Lewis? Is he did not come off
yeah.
like this genuine good spirit. Like, oh my god, Brad Greenquist plays him perfectly. Remember when he's just chilling on the plane, just like smiling at Rachel, all happy that she's going back? Like he
I
plays
know,
him
I
so
felt like
great.
there should have been a moment like that, make him a little more lighthearted, like at
Yeah.
least when he's in the back seat of the car when Rachel's driving home, but
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah,
you see him in the rear view mirror
in
and
the
that's
rear
they don't
view.
even show his face. But
I don't
there
know. Again,
is
he
there
just comes off evil. I don't like or like just
yeah.
creepy. I don't know.
I guess since we are on him, and then I do want to jump to Lewis, and then we'll go down. But since
Okay.
we started with him, one of
Right.
my biggest things, and I guess it bleeds into Ellie too, but
Hmm.
we'll save that for her. But I think him and Ellie, there was just something bad about their performances. Like
Right.
Gage and Pascal in the original had such personality, despite being like undead or a ghost or whatever. They had
Yeah.
such person. These ones, like the way they directed Pascal and Ellie, it was just
Yeah.
like I'm evil and like I'm an evil like
It was
undead
very
girl and
one.
I'm a
Yeah.
you
It
know
wasn't layered at all. It
a
was very
spooky
one note.
ghost or something.
Yeah, it was literally all just the focus on the horror. Like I feel like Mary Lambert really got into the characters and really like she showed all the layers and the grittiness and the deep. I feel like this one was just focusing on blood, guts, horror. We gotta scare everybody type thing. And the original was so scary, but it didn't push too hard to do that. Like I don't know, Mary
Yeah.
Lambert, she's the best. But
Hmm.
um, do you want to go into Lewis or do you have anything else to add about
Yeah.
Pascal? Okay.
That was just my biggest thing. It's just like they
The
were
performance.
so one note. They had no
I know.
personality in comparison to the original.
I agree.
If
Sad, actually.
I mean the fact that a 2-year-old in the original had more personality than this 10-year-old
I
in
know.
in this one, Ellie, kind of is an argument for, yeah, maybe you
Yeah.
should have tried a 2-year-old. I don't know, but no, if we want to jump to the character, like go through the characters now and
Yeah.
start with Lewis, obviously. I didn't think there's a couple. I mean, there's obviously problems I had with him. I didn't think there was anything remarkable
That's
about his
yeah, that
acting,
stood out. Yeah.
and I feel like his chemistry with Judd was just the way they
Oh
performed
my god.
was so different. Specifically, there's the
Yes.
scene like I feel like in the original you have Lewis like going crazy and going into madness,
Yeah.
and I get that with his performance in this,
Right.
like especially the scene in the new one where he drugged Judd and just had him
That
pass
was
out so he could
so
go. It's like
dumb. First of all,
this
that
Lewis just came off to me as like, especially that moment, he came off to me as just like a bad guy, like an asshole.
yes.
Not like he's
Yes.
crazy, he's an asshole, and he
No,
just
he's
drugged
just like a
him to.
yeah. Oh my god, I got so much to say. I'm so glad you brought that up because my for me personally, my biggest complaint about the entire movie, I think from beginning to end it's total shit anyway, but my biggest complaint, and my boyfriend and I were talking about this and he completely agreed because my boyfriend and I, like, well, I'll give some context too because like my boyfriend was supposed to come on this discussion, guys, but he got lazy and was like, "No, I don't feel like it." Like he does that. So I will step in on his behalf and
Well,
give some of his opinions, but he basically agrees with both of us anyway. So
yeah, yeah,
um, but like just context, like him and I, like that's like our favorite movie together. Like we've been together for a while now, but like the one movie that we always go back to and watch together is Pet Sematary. We both love it. We both absolutely love Fred Gwynn and his everything about Judd and Fred Gwynn, like in the original Pet Cemetery. And my boyfriend's also read the book. I forced him to. I was like, you like the movie so much, you need to read the book. So he went away for the army for like 2 or 3 weeks. He read the entire book. He kept texting me the whole time. Oh my god, this is so good. I can't put it down type thing. So like we both really, really love it. And Judd is our favorite character, and Fred Gwynn is fucking amazing. Just have to say that. So we
yeah,
already were going into it like, okay, I know I'm not gonna, and I tried. I really did try to go into it with a semi open mind. It was really hard, but I was like, okay. But Judd and Lewis in this seemed like they literally hated each other. Whereas in the book and the original, they're supposed to be like, oh, this is like my father. Like it even says one of the
yeah,
lines in the book says, Lewis never expected to meet his father so late in life, but or the man that should have been his father. And like they bond and they have this great bond and they have beers together and they hang out. They didn't do any of that in this one. And when he drugged him, it all not only was it like, oh my god, Lewis is a fucking asshole, but it was like that takes away from the ground because the ground is supposed to have influence on things, and the reason why Judd falls asleep in the book and in the original movie is because the ground is influencing him. It's making him tired. I
Yeah,
remember specifically reading that in the book. So why did they take that away and just have Lewis drug him like Lewis is some fucking, I mean, again, it could be they could blame it on always going crazy, but like again,
but I
that
didn't
came
get
across,
that.
yeah, it
Yeah,
came
it came
across
across that
way
way.
better in the original. But even the scene, do you remember the scene where so remember how Judd's introduced to? He meets Ellie first. He meets Ellie in the Pet Cemetery. He has like a closer
Yeah,
chemistry with Ellie than he
she
does
got
with
like
Lewis.
she got like stung by a bee. Isn't that?
That's in the book, but that
Yeah,
was Gage, and
yeah.
he
So did the whole they flipped it.
yeah.
Yeah,
But he
but
doesn't even meet. He doesn't. There's not even an actual proper scene where Judd and Lewis meet. He meets Ellie and then eventually Rachel, and then he just becomes part of like coming over. Like there's no
yeah,
specific scene where him and Lewis bonded. Also, this is such a little thing, but me and my boyfriend literally were laughing because it's like Judd and Lewis in the book and in the original movie drink beer together. Oh, come on up and have a beer, Doc. Like it's like this like thing that they have, and I love it. And then you just fucking see Judd and when he's over at the Creed house in the new one just sipping on wine. I literally had to like that's such a small complaint, but think about it. Like Judd is like this old timey, farmer guy that grew up in this farmhouse and he's sitting there sipping on elegant red wine. Like, no, motherfucker, Judd drinks beer. Judd and Lewis should have had a beer. I think they do have a beer in the scene when he drugs him,
when he
obviously. Or
drugs
no,
him, yeah.
no, because I think he gives him like, isn't it liquor? He has. I thought he had a bottle of liquor actually.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
they. I think they drink beer in the scene where Judd kind of tells him about Spot. It's after church. The whole
Right.
like everything too like was out of order. I felt like church came back and then there was no flashbacks, which I was so mad. I mean, there was the Zelda one, which we'll get to all that bullshit, but there was no like flashback of like Judd telling the story about Spot. He did tell it, but it was a way less impactful scene because there was no flashback. There was no Timmy Baterman. I don't even think they mention Timmy Baterman. I think they had to have, right? But I don't remember
I
them.
think they did. I feel like I remember they did, but
I feel like he wasn't even
clearly it
mentioned by
wasn't
name though.
right. And if they did, clearly it wasn't important enough that we remember. Like they didn't make
Exactly.
a deal out of it.
Yeah, sorry, I had to vent about that. We can
Yeah,
continue and talk about, but the chemistry was so not there at all. I don't know if it was
it
the actors,
wasn't.
the writing,
No.
a combination of all of it. Like I said, Judd had more chemistry with Ellie. It was supposed to be like he bonded with, and that's fine because in the book he's supposed to sort of like love the kids too. Like he bonds with the whole family, but him and Lewis have a certain like they literally. There was another scene oh God, what Lewis says to Judd like, oh my god, I forget what my boyfriend and I gotta watch it. I'm not gonna go pay for it again, but I do need to watch it again so I can. There was a scene where Lewis literally like got all smart with Judd. It was like he walked to the end of the driveway and he was like, "Where's um." Oh my god, where's the cat or something? Or he said something like that, and he got like all bitchy with like Judd. Like they both seemed like they just hated each other. Like there was no like father son type feeling, which is what you're
Right.
supposed to get from Judd and Lewis. I was just like, wow, like these
Yeah.
two people seem like they want to murder each. And like John Lithgow was like horribly cast too because he doesn't have that like tenderness that and that like adorableness. I know that sounds that like Fred Gwynn had. I don't know. There was something more rough about his Judd, and I just didn't. It didn't work at all. I don't think.
No, I don't think it did either. I I do I think it's probably a combination of all three. It's probably a combination of the casting, the writing, and the directing
Directing, yeah,
for all everybody. But
yeah,
since we're on those two, yeah, I just felt like Lewis just came off as an asshole, and
yeah.
they didn't even try to have those two form some kind of bond to make it more like
Yeah.
impactful or whatever.
They didn't
I
even
mean,
have a one-on-one scene I mean
no.
until they went up to the pet until Church died and they went up to the ground together. I don't think they had like an actual and then when he drugs him and then when they talk about Spot, but it was never like a friendly like in the beginning of the original Pet Cemetery they have that whole scene where he goes up and has a beer with him. Like that's good because that's setting the tone for the rest of like their relationship, but there was nothing like that in this one. I was like, "What?" I was shocked that like that's how Judd was introduced to the family, just meeting Ellie in the Pet Cemetery randomly, telling her about the Pet Cemetery, then meeting Rachel, and then he's just part of the like he didn't have any type of meeting with Lewis. It was so bizarre.
Right. We subtly transitioned into Judd. Um,
Yeah.
I guess like there was Lewis and his madness or lack thereof. That was
Right.
that whole thing. I feel like
Yeah.
with Judd, um, I thought I thought he was fine, but he didn't really do anything or do
in
like he didn't
particular.
do anything for
Yeah.
me. It was
Yeah.
just like, okay, he's the old next door neighbor, which Judd is supposed to be so much more than that. Um,
Exactly.
but the other part of Judd's character that I did want to talk about,
Hmm.
and I asked you and your boyfriend before I saw it, if Norma was in this movie at all, and you guys were like,
Oh.
you don't want to say anything.
Oh
You
yeah,
said
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of. I
Yeah.
do want to talk about that because, like, I guess I'm okay with like because at least they mentioned her. She wasn't mentioned in
Yes.
the original, and I'm talking about at the beginning when Ellie sees like the
The
picture.
picture.
That
Yeah.
was that was fine. That was at least some acknowledgement of her as a
Yeah.
character. I still wish she was in the movie,
Me too.
even if she had a small role, which it would be a small role. But I like that
Right.
she was acknowledged at all. But then later, when it's Ellie and she just like he sees
Oh,
her
becomes
as
her.
Norma,
Yeah.
that was so stupid and it looked dumb.
I was
And
really confused on that. I was like, wait, what?
I know, and I guess they did that in the original, where like Rachel saw Zelda
Zelda
was really
through Gage.
gay,
Yeah.
but it looked stupid in this one because it literally looked like I don't like. I think there was like some CG like on camera
Yes.
like
Yeah.
transformation into her, which
Yeah.
is like I don't know. I thought that was
The
really bad.
only
And
the only cool thing about that entire scene, like obviously it looked horrible, but the only cool thing about it is that that actually, I don't know if you remember, but that actually does happen in the book. Like Gage, when he comes back, like speaks through like and he kind of sounds like Norman. It's supposed to be like he's taunting Judd
right,
about Norma burning and how. So that actually does happen in the books. Maybe that's why they put it in to try to be
right.
more. But
But
like
I think
it was just.
it was more effective in the original because it
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
like an on-camera thing. They cut to
Right.
Zelda, then they cut to Rachel, and then they cut back, and oh,
And it's
it's
Gage.
Gage.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was creepier because it's like, oh, what off camera
Yeah.
happened? Like
Like
what
where
off
is
camera?
she? Like yeah.
Yeah,
And well, we always talk about how great that scene shot anyway, like how the camera's just, it's kind of almost like a Resident Evil like camera angle. It's just the camera's just
uh-huh.
kind of sitting in the corner and Zelda moves towards the kid. Like, oh, that whole scene is shot so awesome like in the original.
And there's
But
only like one or two cuts to Rachel. Other than that, it's literally her
exactly.
running at the camera, and it's really effective. And
Yeah.
I guess with Norma, the other thing I wanted to bring up with this movie, and it has to do with her character. And
Hmm.
in the original, they had Missy.
Oh yeah.
There was like no
Yeah.
like I there was like the talk of Rachel, like of course she didn't want to talk about death and all that, but
Right.
there wasn't another character that the family was close to that died. In the book it's
Yeah.
Norma, in the original it's Missy, and I feel like that was a important thing that shouldn't have been cut out. Like
Yeah,
this
because it's
other
supposed to
event
show
happened and sort of
exactly.
I think it was all
Because
hinged on Church and Rachel, but I think it needed that extra character.
yeah, because the whole point, because like I've heard some people that have watched Pet Sematary say, "Oh, that's so random. Why do they show like the housekeeper dying?" But it's like, especially if you read the book, you understand more. But it's supposed to show how the ground again is influencing things
Hmm.
because Judd released whatever's in the air, and like she, it's just, and it puts the whole death thing in perspective because the whole movie's about death and like how people deal with it, all that.
Right.
And I don't know, I just, yeah, I thought that was weird because only Church dies, and then from, if I'm remembering
It's
correctly,
like
it's just Church and then it jumps right to Ellie. Like
yeah,
there's no actual like build up to it because it starts with Church, okay, and then we move up to Missy. It's like and you slowly like get to more and more people you care about, and then when it's Gage in the original, you're like, oh shit. In this one, it was just like Church, Ellie, and it was so pretty. Like, it was so predictable and stupid. Well, we obviously already knew that she was gonna die because of the trailers, but like just the way that
mhm.
they, and didn't she see Church, and that's what made her get run over? So I forget actually, but
Yeah, what happened?
he was like
So
coming up
yeah,
the road or something.
right, because like they they buried Church after he was killed, and then they wanted like Rachel, I remember she was like, "Can we just tell her he ran away? Like I don't
Oh
want to
yeah,
talk about death. Can we just tell her?" And then they do that, and then she's
yeah,
like, "Oh, he's right there, and he's in the closet." And then Lewis, I guess, wants to
yeah.
just get rid of him, and then he like drives away and just drops him, and then Church finds his way back, and yeah, it's coming down the
Yeah,
road.
where did they come up with it? None of this shit was in the book. The original was so much more faithful to, like, it was like, and maybe it makes more sense because Stephen King wrote that screenplay, but like still, like they went off even like Rachel knowing about Church being dead, like she didn't know, like oh, the family never went away either, like they never left Lewis alone, so like they were there the whole
Right.
time. Lewis didn't have that
I
bad relationship with her parent. I did, like there were so many
I
things that
know
I
the
was just like, I,
parents, they were like there in like a scene or two,
yeah, they had
and
no
it was just
impact.
not. like
Yeah.
pointed out there might I feel like I might have maybe it was just me reading into it because I knew how their relationship with Lewis was supposed to be, but maybe there was like one moment where when Rachel's leaving or maybe at the funeral or something they like cut to um what I don't remember his name. Irwin,
Irwin going.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he, like I feel like they might have cut to him once and he looked like mad or something, which is like okay, but so they didn't even want to like explore that
Yeah, put the fight. They didn't even put the
in-law
fight
thing.
in. Yeah.
Yeah,
I found that so weird. And like Rachel's supposed to live far. Like obviously in the original, they have to take like a whole plane ride to like
right.
get to where her parents live. It seemed like they were just kind of right around. Like everybody was just in the area. It's just like, oh
I know,
yeah,
didn't they
this is
change it? Like her parents were in Boston or something in this one.
yeah. So it's
Right.
closer or whatever. So because I think in the original, isn't it like Chicago is where they're
I
from or
think
something?
so, yeah.
Yeah. I don't that whole like they changed the plot of so many different like I just didn't like that too how like Rachel was aware that Church was dead. Like that to me was just
I
like
didn't
that
like
was
that
weird.
either. I wanted to bring that up too. Like I don't like that they were all clued into the whole thing. I didn't like that
Yeah.
the whole family was aware
Knowing
of it.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
it's
just
mainly Lewis's story. Like the main characters, honestly, if you think about like the original and the book and everything, are like Judd and Lewis. Obviously, Lewis
mm,
is the main character, but like they kind of involve the family more. And I like, obviously, I like all the characters themselves in the book and in the original movie. Like I like Rachel, I like it, but like the story's supposed to focus on Lewis
right.
and Judd, and like
Yeah.
it kind of, I don't know, it kind of it almost seemed like it was like a Ellie Rachel movie at first. Like the whole beginning was like, her like because Lewis was off at work or whatever, and like that's when Ellie wandered into the woods and she met Judd and she was the one that brought Judd to
Yeah,
the family. It was weird.
and wasn't it like maybe the second time she went out there or something, or maybe I don't know. But when that's when she first saw this fucking stupid kids in masks.
I know it's so stupid.
Like they're
Yes,
just
she
doing
actually saw them go to the pet cemetery like that. That's so stupid. I thought that was going to be in a flashback. When we saw the masks in the trailers, I
right.
thought it I thought it was going to be Judd talking about like, how the kids kept the ground, because he does talk about that in the book. So I thought that was going to be a flashback. The fact that she saw that and they like look and it was supposed to be this it was
And then later
so dumb.
that when she's wearing the fucking mask.
Oh my god, they did why I don't understand why they felt they had to do that. They think
I
that was
think
like
we
creepy and
well,
edgy.
I feel like they probably thought it was creepy, but I think we also talked about this that maybe they included the masks. Well, at first I was like I thought like maybe they're showing that Ellie has the mask because they didn't want to show again this
Oh,
kid
her face.
mutilated.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
like they show her so much out of the like before that, so she wasn't
Right,
really mutilated. So that
right.
also makes the masks even more pointless because
Yeah,
it's not
they're
like they were hiding it or something. Because she looked
exactly. They
fine
were like
pretty much.
ritual, yeah, and then Judd starts talking about like, or was it Judd? I forget. See, I don't have all the details in my head, obviously, because it's been a little bit. But
Mm.
somebody starts talking about like ritualistic bullshit or whatever, and I'm like, that was not like the Micmac tribe was obviously part of the book in the original, and they do mention it, but and the Wendigo and everything. But then they start talking about like the kids go up and perform little ritualistic ceremony. Like, no, the book describes it as kids would get together and have little doggy funerals because they were upset, obviously. And how I always imagine it when I'm reading the book is just like a bunch of country kids, like in freaking overalls, that just go up and bury their dog and have like a little like kid ceremony, and they say a couple words and
Yeah,
they're upset. Not fucking kids that are like. What are they like? Fucking like sick, like witchcraft, like fucking killer kids that wear masks and stare at people and beat on drums. Like I never pictured it like that. The book doesn't describe it like that at all. Like they twisted it and made it like this evil thing almost. Like the
right.
kids were like evil. Like they're supposed to be just grieving regular kids that go up and bury their pets. Like I don't they made it everything so much more menacing than it like really needed to be. I'm like, what the fuck? Can we also go back to Judd for a second, talk about his non-accent? His
Oh
lack
yeah.
of a fucking accent.
Yeah,
Like
did any character have a main accent? Like
I
obviously
don't
not the family because they didn't come from there. They
I
moved
don't
there.
Right. I
But
honestly don't think so. I think in the original movie, Missy and obviously
Missy
Judd
and Judd,
had
yeah.
them, and they both actors did amazing doing that. But in this one, it's like they didn't even try. Like literally, John Lithgow sounds like a dude from fucking California. Like he doesn't sound like a guy that lived in Maine his entire life. He didn't even try the yeah. Like that's like the thing everybody loves about Judd. Like that, it's even written in the book. Like yeah, his like thing is written in the fucking print.
I
So
know. They couldn't get that right with Judd in this one, but fucking South Park got Judd
I know.
right.
That's the second best Judd right there. Better than fucking John Oh my god, I'm gonna make a fucking meme or GIF or some shit and just put like the Judd from fucking South Park and be
South
like,
Park.
better than John Lithgow, still a better Judd than Lithgow. That's so mean, but it's so true.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh,
But yeah. Had
Yeah,
to talk about that. But where did you want to jump to somebody else? We were on
we were on Judd.
Judd, yeah.
And yeah, I just want to talk about the Norma thing that,
Oh
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much the main thing I want to talk about him, with him. And like I said, he did nothing. I don't think I hated him as much as you did, but there was nothing special. It was just like
Yeah, because he's supposed to be a
he,
character that really stands out, and he just,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. And like I said, the chemistry between him and Lewis was so non-existent and so. Well, they did. It honestly doesn't even seem like they tried with that either. It was just like, oh, he's just the friendly neighbor. And like I said, he had a more of a bond with Ellie, which was weird to me because, like, even though Judd gets close to the kids in the book and even in the original, it comes across like that. Like he bonds with Ellie more than Lewis. Like it was just, I don't. It was weird.
yeah. Well, I was just thinking like on Judd, I was thinking like it could have been one of those like old like the thinkings when they remake something like, oh, we can't compete with this, like we can't compete with Fred Gwynn,
Fred
and
Gwynn,
we can't
yeah,
compete with Miko Hughes, and we can't compete with Lewis and Judd's bond and relationship. So let's
yeah.
just not try. That's kind of
Yeah,
how it
yeah,
felt.
that's basically
Let's
what
just
it
not
came across.
try.
That is so how it came across.
Let's just
Oh
put
my god.
this old dude in here, and he knows some stuff, and
He
that's
knows,
about
yeah.
it.
That's literally, oh my god, you just nailed it. That's literally what I thought of Judd. He was just the old guy that kind of knew stuff. He was there to just explain the plot basically.
Yeah,
He didn't offer any, like, you know how like you just your like heart just like you get like the tug at your heartstrings for like Judd in the original, like you love Fred Gwynn so much you don't want anything to
I
happen to him.
know. And when he cries, you want to just give him a hug.
I know, because he's so, oh my god, he's the best. And like in this one, it's just like I was just like when he died, it was just like okay, great, knew that was
Yeah,
gonna happen. Um,
yeah.
but if you want to move on, do you want to go to Ellie or Rachel first?
Let's go to Rachel because we already
Okay,
talked a tiny bit about Ellie, and I have more to say with Rachel.
okay, that's
At
fine.
least coming in my head. She was the actor who I said before we started. I think acting wise, whether the writing was not the best for her,
Right,
I think out of all the actors, I think she did the best
best.
job, whether that was good or fine or whatever. I
I
think,
I can agree with that. I'll give my full
yeah,
opinion after, but I can kind of agree with you on that. Like at least
right.
she conveyed the emotion, and she even though the writing was still awful, I think
Weak.
at least she was still, yeah, yeah, she still gave like a pretty decent performance, I guess.
Yeah, but I think like I said before, and you did too, that's just a problem for me, her being aware of what's happening.
Yeah, I
And
don't like
like
that.
when I watched the movie, when I was watching it, I again said to my brother, like, it feels like a lot less is happening in this movie than the original. It feels like so much happens and so much time passes in
Yes.
the original compared to this
Yeah.
one. Um, like, she, so she just comes home and finds Ellie, and then it's like now she's just running for her life because this
Yeah.
crazy evil little girl, cliche evil little girl is coming at her.
I know, and it happens so fast. Like, and the whole thing with Ellie coming back was so confusing too. We'll get to that more when we talk about Ellie, but yeah, that whole thing was just like, what? Yeah, and then like Rachel being that aware, that was really, really weird. Like Rachel in the original movie and book knows nothing and then just dies. Like she has no idea what Lewis
Right.
is, and that like creates
Or
more like
I
suspense and fear. Like when she's running through the airport and she's trying to figure out
Yeah.
what's going on, and
I like
Pascal's
that
leaving her.
more. I like that like she didn't like she didn't know what was happening, but she knew something was happening. And I
She knew
like
something
that.
bad.
I
Yeah,
like that, she Pascal sort of got in her head a tiny bit too, and she was
yeah,
concerned about Ellie's visions and she was worried about her husband. I like that she knew something was happening.
but
She
not
wasn't completely
exactly what.
oblivious.
Right.
Yeah, it was just I didn't care. I didn't like her knowing everything.
I know. I couldn't believe when Lewis first told Rachel about church dying. I literally looked at my boyfriend in the theater and I went, really? Like there were several moments in the theater where I was literally like
Oh
nudging
yeah,
him, and like I was like, what the fuck?
I was just thinking about the end where, she comes back and finds Ellie and then he talks about it. But yeah, he does explain it earlier about church, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah, because I forget why he ends up telling Rachel, like, and I think it's after they bury him. Like he
Hmm.
dies right away, and Judd takes him up to the fucking. Oh, and can we just? We're gonna have to talk a little bit about the fucking, like, even the production design, the sets and stuff, because oh my god, it did not like in the original, because I think it was shot in Maine. It
Hmm.
felt so authentic. This one, the
I
fucking
think
Micmac burial ground was so boring. It didn't even look like it. They just put him in some dirt. Like I don't remember it looking cool at all. The Pet Cemetery
I know,
maybe
yeah,
a little bit, but
he like dig. I remember with Ellie too. He like digs like a 2 feet hole or something and
yeah,
barely
yeah,
covers them with dirt.
Yeah, and it doesn't even look like a burial ground. It just looks like a little patch of dirt in the woods. Like there was nothing that, you know how like in Mary Lambert's, how there, she actually made a legit looking fucking burial ground. It's like in the circle
Right,
and the
and
rocks are everywhere.
When Lewis first like hits it with the shovel, you could tell that's
It's like
fucking hard.
sparks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So he
yeah,
really had to work. That was like some serious fucking business. And
yeah.
then this literally he just digs a very shallow thing just to
I know.
cover them up as minimally as possible.
Oh my god, yeah, I didn't like that either. And the Pet Cemetery, it was just meh. Like I like like the boards that say Pet
Right.
Cemetery, like the little archway or whatever in the original, like that
Mhm.
looks so cool. And the fact that like a lot of the crosses in the original are made of like fucking like household objects, like there's
Yeah.
like chair legs and stuff. Remember you and I were looking at that, like how they got so into like creating the Pet
Hmm.
Cemetery in the original. It felt so authentic. Oh my
And
god.
there was just like yeah, there's like empty bird cages too.
Yeah, that was so cool. Like it looked so legit. It looked like kids would really like, it's all makeshift like stuff, so it gives it more of a creepy, realistic vibe too. And this one,
Yeah.
they just looked like a bunch of shitty crosses. Like I don't know, I just don't remember anything special about the pet. And even the sign was like smaller and kind of hidden. It wasn't like, because
Yeah.
you know how in the original it's like above like the walkway. Like I love that. But
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And the opening, remember we called the opening because we said, oh, they're not going to be able to beat the opening of the original, because remember the original has that awesome opening with the best music, and it just shows shots of the graves in the Pet Cemetery. And then you and I were like, oh, I bet the remake's going to open with them just driving to the house. And
We
remember, it
literally
totally did.
fucking
Yeah,
called it. Yeah.
yeah. That's all it is, with
I
not
I
cool music at all.
I thought of that as soon as it was starting. I was like, "Oh yeah, we
We called it.
predicted this." I mean, this is
Yeah.
so
So
obvious and
predictable.
so
Yeah.
cliche. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
they're a happy family and they're driving there, and
Exactly.
it's not like
Oh,
you've seen that in 15 movies before.
I know. We also called Zelda being a jump scare, which we will definitely get to fucking Zelda, and we called the truck, the Orinco trucks being a jump scare, which happens
Oh
near the
yeah.
fucking beginning. So look how predictable and cliche the movie
On
is. We predicted three different things that happened.
I know there's a few things I want to mention before we move on to another character, and
Mm,
we're jumping all over the place, but
I
that's
know.
what we usually do. But
I know.
with the truck,
Right.
I thought it was I thought it was so fucking stupid, and it's just for like a second, but I
Right.
caught it. How in the original it's the truck and the guy's in the car and he's getting distracted and he's singing that Ramon song
Oh,
like
yeah, Sheena.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you noticed it, but in this they got the truck driver, he's driving, and then for a split second, like he gets distracted by his phone ringing, and on the
Right.
phone it said Sheena, like Sheena was calling him.
Oh,
It
you
was
did
supposed to be a
tell me.
reference to that, and it's like that's
Oh my
fucking
god,
stupid.
that's
Don't do
actually kind of
that.
funny.
Sheena is calling him.
I did not notice that actually. I don't think my boyfriend did either. I'm gonna have to tell him about that. That's
Yeah, it
actually
is.
like, that's
I
kind of,
noticed.
I want to say, I don't even want to admit it. It's kind of clever in a way to have that
Yeah,
still referenced, I guess, but it's still like, I don't know. It's very
I don't,
forced and stiff.
it just came up dumb to me. I don't.
I did not catch that though. If I do watch it again, I'm gonna have to like
Yeah.
look out for that. But that's
Well,
interesting.
we when it comes out on
For
like
free, so I don't have to pay
digital,
for it.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, we should watch it together and then
definitely. Yeah, I'll
an
probably notice
angry
more.
do an
Yeah.
angry commentary on that.
We
Um,
actually should, because I'm sure there's going to be things I'm going to, see when I watch it again that I'm not going to mention in this
right.
current discussion, because I'll forget, and then I'm going to be like, "Damn, I really got to talk shit on that." So like we definitely should
We
do like
really
a
still have
angry
to
discussion.
do yeah, we have to do like a happy one on and I've said on the original.
Oh yeah,
Um,
commentary.
and
Yeah.
we almost did it like before I saw it. We rewatched the movie with your boyfriend and a couple beers,
Oh
but
yeah.
I
Oh,
didn't
that
end
was
up
fun.
recording it. But yeah, I do want to do a commentary in the original. I really want to start doing commentaries. I think that would be fun.
No, we
But
definitely should, and there's enough for us to talk about with that, with the
yeah.
original. So,
But there was
but
one other
anyway.
thing because you were talking about the burial ground and it made me remember
Hmm.
the woods and things.
Right.
They didn't they show like a like because the original didn't show at all. There was just the one little thing about
The
Judd
when
said
they.
the loon, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wasn't there like I feel like there was a shot like in the Lewis looked and then way like in the trees in the back it was really dark. You saw some figure.
See. I can barely remember what
I
they
think I
actually.
remember
Are you talking about when he
that.
was walking up to bury Ellie?
Yeah, probably that.
Yeah,
I don't remember, but I feel like there was like a shot where they showed some creature in the darkness behind some trees.
that's
Um,
actually kind of creepy. Well, that sounds kind of creepy. I don't remember that, but that sounds.
I think
Well, I kind of remember. See, people were saying too, like, oh, this one's gonna be so much better because they're really gonna have the Wendigo as like a presence. But I don't really feel like it was that much of a Like, I mean,
it was more
I
or
don't know.
less like the same as the as just
Yeah,
the
as
original,
the
like
original
a
because
noise, and then yeah, they had some.
yeah.
They just I think they did have some CG creature in
Personally,
that.
and maybe I'm biased, but I like the subtlety of the original. Like I like that you really don't see anything, but you hear that creepy scream that I don't even know how they made that noise for the movie because it always freaked me out as a kid. Whenever I heard, like, I would cover my ear. Like, remember how I told you every time Zelda came on screen, I'd cover my eyes. Well, every time the scene where Judd would say, "Oh, just a loon," would like whenever that thing would scream, I would like cover my ears because it freaked me out. Because like you just get this image in your head. It's just like, ooh, that just sounds like wrong. Like it doesn't. It's so creepy. I like
Right,
the subtlety of the Wendigo in that
right, and yeah, I think
regard.
that is another thing where what you can imagine is probably creepier.
Scarier than what they'll put on screen. Yeah, I
I mean,
definitely think that.
I would like to like see like a screenshot of the one shot of the Wendigo in this one because I do think I'm remembering correctly, just to look at it more and see if like, oh, maybe if it was a
Didn't
little creepy.
Judd? Well,
But
didn't Judd or somebody have like a thing when he was talking about the Indians and he said they believed in the Wendigo? Didn't he have like a drawing of it or something? I feel like I
oh
remember
yeah,
that.
he did.
There,
Yeah, there was like
yeah,
some book or something he showed him.
he showed him like some drawings of like the Wendigo or whatever, which I don't know. Like Judd never even mentions the Wendigo in the original. I don't know if he does in the book or not, but I know in the original they don't ever say the Wendigo.
Right.
But
I always thought and liked this idea of the original when when he says, "Oh yeah, it's just a loon." I liked thinking that, oh no, he totally knows what the fuck that is, and he's just not saying
exactly, he
anything.
know exactly. I love that, and you can just tell because Fred Wynn's such a good actor. Like he definitely like portrays that. Like it's like, oh, he knows what the fuck he's talking about, or he's lying. And Lewis doesn't look like he really trusts him, but they just keep going. Like, oh my god, the original's great.
Mhm.
But anyway, do you want to jump? So we were on Rachel. I think overall, I think I do agree with you that her like performance wise, she wasn't awful. But again, just like what you said about Judd, I don't really think she stood out and did anything
No,
special,
no, I
really.
think my whole point was that like in every movie, there's going to be somebody who did a better job than the rest of
That's
them,
true.
and I
That
think
is
she
true.
did. Whether it's
Yeah,
however you would rate her performances, I think she did better than
she
the
did
rest of the cast.
right, but she's no Denise Crosby.
Not at all. None of
I
them.
know. I
Fucking
know.
none of them.
None of them compare.
But before
Um.
we should talk about before we move on from Rachel, the other part of her character, Zelda. We
Oh
know
yeah. I was so
uh,
excited for you to see that just because I wanted. You haven't told me actually what you think of this yet, so this will be the first time I'm hearing it. What did you honestly think of the fucking change of how she died? So everybody knows in the book and in the original movie, Zelda dies by choking to death. Like
choking.
Rachel goes
Yeah,
up to, yeah, to feed her and she chokes. Simple. They
I
conveyed it very well in the original. It was creepy, and she dies, right?
yeah. Right now. Kind of feeling how I felt when I saw that. I was like,
Is that
I don't
bad?
even understand how that happened, but that was just fucking stupid, and it was another example of them having to make things bigger and
I
like
know it's more
whatever.
dramatic.
But that that was just dumb. Like I
She
think it's
falls down the dumb
she
waiter.
falls down it's like she's telling the story and it's like, oh yeah, my parents told me never to use that because it didn't work all the time.
Yeah.
And then what happened? She was too scared to go upstairs, so she raised the food in that. And what happened? Did Zelda crawl out of bed, go lean in the dumbwaiter, and then
And
just
just
fucking fall
fall.
into it? I don't understand how that happened. Why would she be
and
in it?
and why would she? How could she even get up? Like get herself? Like yeah, like
Exactly.
she was supposed to be like bed. Like at that point when she dies in the original and in the book, like she's supposed to be like bed bound. Like she's really sick. So like I don't even.
Yeah.
I couldn't even foresee how she would get up and then proceed to crawl
Now I'm
into the dumbwaiter to just fall. Like it was
Now I'm
so
just
dumb.
thinking about it. I'm thinking about it, and I think it's so hilariously stupid that she just
I
fucking falls down the
It
dumbwaiter.
is, and it's this
It's
loud
stupid.
crashing. It's
You
kind of
take the
like when a
most fucking
pipe falls on a net in Naruto. It's like so dramatically
except
stupid.
that's
That's
like
hilarious.
good stupid.
That is good,
This
stupid.
was
That is
just stupid, but it was
yeah.
also funny because it was so stupid.
I know.
I and
Oh
it was
my
just because it
god.
was jump scare, and I
Yeah,
don't
they
know.
and
It was
I think they
so
wanted to use that dumbwaiter as that whole thing for having the dumbwaiter was just like, oh, now we have a way where Rachel can or Zelda can come through and just pop out right in your face. Like I bet you that's why they did that too. Well, and also to make it more drama, they had
And why would I guess she could still feel guilty, but I feel like Rachel could feel less guilty about her sister dying that way because it's like,
then
oh,
feeding her. Yeah.
I used the dumb waiter and I wasn't supposed to, but like it's not your fault your fucking dumbass sister fell into the fucking thing.
So true. so
And in the
it's so
original, she
true.
probably just like, she in the book, she fed her and she started choking, and then Rachel
And
got
she, yeah,
scared and ran away because
ran
she didn't know
away.
what to do. She even in the original, she like in the book, like starts banging on her back a little bit.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah,
scary because like just imagining
yeah.
in that moment if it's your sibling or
S-
whatever, that's
exactly.
scary, and you could see
See,
why she'd feel guilty about that later.
yeah.
It's just stupid.
And it gave Zelda so much more of the creep factor because we had a whole scene in which she was fucking, you know, that whole scene, that whole flashback scene when you very first see Zelda, that is like the creepiest fucking shit ever. Like we didn't really even get a well, it was a flashback, but I don't even really remember. Honestly, it's sad. I don't even remember what Zelda really looked like in this movie just
I
because
kind of
she
do,
I do a
but
little bit, and I guess she was kind of creepy, but it definitely did not have the impact of the original because the original scarred me for fucking life. Like
I
that
know.
shit was
It
awful
for
and scary.
sure didn't because the movie's 30 years old now, and that seems to be like the biggest thing people today still
Always
remember
talk about
from it.
like
Like they're
she
scarred
scared the shit out of
Zelda,
me. Yeah, they always
and
say
this is
that.
just not going to be. It's like
Yeah.
we already forgot it for the most part.
Exactly. And I felt like that
Zelda.
Zelda had way less scenes and less of an impact. Like I think there were only the flashback scene and then we got some like subtle hints. But remember in the trailer they showed her like crawling towards like Rachel. I don't think that happened in the movie.
Um, I was
I rem-
waiting for that because I
Me
it was in the
too.
trailer, but
I don't remember that happening though,
it could
honestly.
have happened, or we're just misremembering because it's in the trailer. I don't remember. I'm kind of glad it wasn't if it wasn't in the movie
Yeah, yeah.
because like in the trailer, if you remember, she's crawling towards her and you just like hear her bones cracking. It's so
Oh,
stupid.
I know, so
And she's
stupid.
crawling towards her like Samara or some other fucking Japanese
I know. Yeah,
girl.
they do that type of animation, which it looks cool on Samara because that was when it was like first done and it was like an original thing. And then they tried to do it with Zelda. It's like Zelda wouldn't like
No,
her just being a natural human that just moves like that's what makes her so like in the original she was so fucking creepy and it was so much more subtle. It didn't need this
I
whole
know.
I'm gonna
I feel
fall
like I've
down a
read.
dumb waiter and
Oh, now I'm not gonna not laugh every time I think about that. It's
I
just,
know, right? It's so
but
dumb.
like I feel like I've heard like I've seen some comments that some people say like now with the remake and like whatever like the look of Zelda in the original, and some people have said like, oh, like why does she look like that? Not the whole man being played by a man
Right,
thing,
right, right.
but I've seen some people say like that's not what Spinal Meningitis looks like. It's like exaggerated and whatever.
It
And
probably is, but
it is,
yeah.
but and then some people responded and were like, well, yeah, because that's her remembering, that's her child
That's
memory.
true.
That's
Yeah,
why it's so distorted and messed up, and that makes it creepier.
because
In
she
this, you just
remembers
look
her
like,
being scary. Yeah.
I don't know. I just, the only shot I really remember of Zelda, besides her falling down the dumbwaiter, is there was like when she like before that happened, I think she went to feed her or something. I don't know, and like it just sort of is like close on her face, and you like see her head kind of turn around a little bit. It was
I
trying to be
don't
creepy, but it was I don't know.
see the fact that I can't even really picture her in my head right now from the remake just proves that it's just like I kind of can, but I don't fully have the image there, so it definitely didn't leave an impact. Like the original, I had to sleep with my sister for months, and I was so fucking scared to go to sleep because
I
she
know
was is so fucking like Mary
this
Lambert was a genius. Like it was the
right.
combination of the casting of a male, like a skinny like guy, and just the makeup. Like he was just that was like so perfect. It was so goddamn creepy.
Yeah, what is this movie from Zelda gonna make people scared of? Are they gonna get scared of dumb waiters
Dumb
and think
waiters.
so? Uh,
Who has a fucking dumb waiter in their house too, by the way? Like that's just
I
kind of like okay,
well, I mean,
Irwin
I
Goldman, rich
guess.
guy.
Yeah, I guess because she was rich, and I guess
And
so.
I guess cuz like
And
yeah,
maybe
they
they
have a
could have had it
terminally
built
ill
in.
daughter, but
Yeah, maybe
yeah,
they could have it built for Zelda, but
I just think like to wrap up on Zelda, my overall thoughts is just no impact again. Like I barely remember it. The whole changing of the way she died was so stupid. Like it's really just falling. Like every time we say falling down a dumb waiter, it just I can't take it serious. Like and that's supposed to be like a serious like scene again where like it was like I told you like Pascal's death. It was so ridiculous how the actor reacted that like my boyfriend and I like laughed at how ridiculous it was. Same thing when fucking Zelda just fell. Like you just hear clunk. It's like such a clunky, stupid death. Like it's not a intimidating, like scary. And like you said, the choking thing was more like that would be scary because you would think about what Rachel's thinking in that moment. Like, and the little girl that plays
yeah.
her in the original like looks so scared, like she's like panicking and doesn't know what to do. Like
Hmm.
that's way more of an impact than just Gonna
Way more
fall down a
effective.
dumb, gonna crash down through this dumb waiter. Oh my god, it's so unrealistic. It's so stupid,
uh,
but
I told you I'm on Wikipedia just in case there's anything I skim and
oh yeah,
and there was one thing that popped up, but we're not quite to that character yet. Um, but
interesting.
everything we're talking about with Zelda specifically, but everything before,
Mhm.
like I just don't understand. Like at the top of the Wikipedia page, it said like, oh, it had some criticisms, but like most people agree that it's a better adaptation than the original. It's like,
That's
I,
bullshit.
yeah, what most people, the fucking assholes who
The
do
stupid
like.
critics that don't, yeah, that don't even matter. And like actually the rating is continually going down like as
I
it's
know
like
I wanted to mention that. I think I because when I search for it, it shows up. I think it still has a higher Rotten Tomatoes than the original by like 10%.
but
But I think it's
IMDb it
already
don't,
yeah, I think it's already lower on IMDb than the original.
which is fucking
I think
awesome.
the
It better
original has
keep
a
going down.
6.8, which is too low, but
That's still
that's high
decent.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And then
think the
this one
original
has like what, like a 6 point, does
2
it
or
have
something.
6? Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, so it's probably going to keep going down like, and it's funny cuz like every time you go on like Twitter it's like critics raving about the new Pet Cemetery and it's like but
The
people that
best
like that
Stephen King
I
fucking.
know, and then there's so many comments like you guys are bullshitting. This is fucking awful. Like so, I've retweeted a couple of them where this guy was like, um, the best horror adaptation of Stephen King. What did he say? He said an auto tune fart was scarier or something like that. He said something about like a fart being scarier than the fucking movie. I like retweeted it. I was cracking up. We're not the only ones that can see that it's bullshit and the original is a way better adaptation.
I mean, there's no question. The
Yeah.
original is still it's my favorite Stephen King movie, my top three
Yes.
horror movies,
Yes.
and the book is my favorite Stephen King book. It's
Oh my
well,
god, me
no,
too.
I own a few Stephen King books, but that's one that I've read multiple times.
Oh my god, me too. Actually, because of the remake and just like, the hype and everything about Pet Sematary right now, it's like I kind of want to read the book again just to
I know, yeah,
it's
me
been a
too.
while. Oh, I forgot to say about Lewis though too. This is just real quick. uh, First of all, I think he was a really boring Lewis. Nothing really stood out. But like, our doctors, I work for a bunch of doctors, so maybe I'm a little like I know a little bit. I'm gonna be smug right now and say this, but like doctors normally like really like are clean shaven, take care of themselves at least for the most part, and that's how Dale Midkiff looked in the original. He was like handsome. Not that you have to be handsome because I don't work for a bunch of handsome doctors. I'll say that, but that's really mean. But but like he's got like that young doctor like look. He clean shaven. Like this guy like looked like he like scratches his ass, pulls out a beer, and burps like it, and it has his 5 o'clock shadow. Like I don't know, he just didn't seem
Or
like
like he
Lewis
was
to
like,
me.
I mean,
He
I
looked a
could
lot
see that,
older too. He looked a lot older. Like
right?
I feel like Lewis is supposed to be like a younger, like probably in his 30s because he's got like the two kids or whatever. And I know in the book it says him and Rachel had been married for like 10 years or something. So I think
Mhm.
he's supposed to be in his 30s. So he's not supposed to be like. But he looks so old in the remake too, and I'm mean. I'm really like tearing apart this actor right now. But I even acting wise, like he did nothing special. Like again, just very one
No,
note, boring. So I had to add that because I don't think I said anything about Lewis.
yeah. I mean, I could see that like if the movie progressed and he got more and more like unkempt and you know
Then it makes sense, yeah.
scraggly, sure. But to go into the movie, I get your point. Yeah.
It's kind of mean, I guess, to just strictly talk about like his physical appearance, but like, you have to sort of fit the character you're playing too, like physically. So I don't know.
If you want to move on to Ellie,
Yes.
I
Oh
don't have
gosh.
I don't have much to say about her. We talked a little bit earlier. But just my biggest thing that I hate is just the just obviously the decision and the fact that she is portrayed like we thought. She's just a cliche evil little girl.
I know.
And
And that's been done so many times.
the delivery is dull and boring. Not to insult the young actress, but just
Right.
how they decided to portray that again with
Yeah.
Pascal. It's like, oh, I'm evil, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. I didn't like her acting at all either. I don't want to talk about her because she is a kid, but what are the odds of them hearing this? Anyway.
What did you think
Um,
about? I feel like I think you'd also think this is over the top. Um, I don't know if it's just excess, I suppose. I don't know. Just something they didn't do in the original. Like Ellie did it with Church when Ellie was brushing Church, and then when Lewis was brushing her hair in the tub,
oh,
and
like,
like her
yeah, there
hair
was like that.
started falling out and like chunks of her.
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
It was like when it happened with Church, I was like, oh, that's kind of gross and kind of cool, I guess, because he got hit and
Yeah,
like, but like
yeah.
then it happened with her, and I was just like, again, they had to. have some type of gore or something to make you go like, I don't know. It was like I didn't think it was awful because it is showing okay they are dead. But that being said, I don't like the whole thing with how she was just totally cool and fine when she first came back and was just like talking and being a normal little, well, not normal, but like she was
Oh
like
yeah, I
laying in
hated
bed with him.
you
That
when
was
they were in
weird.
bed. When they were in
Yeah,
bed and she like asked him, "Am I dead?" That was stupid.
I know. I was
Just
like,
did something like
what?
that. That
Oh my
was,
god. I wanted to walk out of the theater several times. That was one of those moments where I was like, why is she acting
but you
normal? She's
couldn't. You had to force yourself for our
exactly to
podcast.
finish it out. I mean, I think what they were trying, what I can say to sort of give them the benefit of the doubt, but not really because I'm still going to end up bitching about it anyway. I think they were trying to go for the because remember the book when things come back in the book it's more subtle than like the original movie. Like they don't just come back straight. Well, they are evil obviously, but they don't
Right.
just
Yeah, they like come back
immediately
like
kill stuff.
they like. I feel like I remember they like come back knowing more things than they should.
Yeah, than they should, and they kind of like, and they're kind of like dumb, like they're just dead, like they kind of just
Yeah.
like remember in the book when Judd tells a story about Spot, he says he just like sat in the bathtub and let me wash him, whereas before like Spot would get like he would shake a lot, he didn't like getting in a bath, but like when he came back, he just sat, like it's like subtle creepiness. So I get why they changed it for the original movie because things had to probably be a little more outrageous for it to work well on screen. But I think
Yeah.
the flaw with this remake is they tried to do both. They tried to be like, okay, well, she's evil and she's going to grab a scalpel in a second and kill you, but we also want her to have that dull, dumb, creepy side that the book had, but it just didn't work because they tried to mesh them together. It's like she's
Mm,
not evil, but then all of a sudden Rachel pisses her off and she wants to kill her. Like the whole thing was it was written so poorly for that
yeah.
whole thing. And then she just randomly goes over and kills Judd. Like why? I forget. Oh, because doesn't he come knocking to try to like intervene with what Lewis is doing and she gets pissed about that or something. I
Yeah,
don't
I
even
think
know.
so.
I don't
Yeah.
even know. Like it's so dumb. It felt more natural in the original. Just
It,
fucking Gage grabbing a scalpel and just fucking off and
yeah.
going on a
Yeah.
spree.
I think again the fundamental change just left them with cliche evil little girl,
Yep.
and that's just not interesting because it's been done a million times
So
before.
many times.
It's
Yeah.
like, oh, we can't top the original, so let's do something that 100 movies have done before.
Exactly. And they even like promoted her heavily. Like maybe that's another reason they wanted to tell people ahead of time because maybe cuz like I think on one of the posters I saw the movie posters or whatever, even at my movie theater when I saw it like it says Pet Sematary coming soon or whatever, it was like the woods and then you just see a little girl and I'm like, "Oh, that's why they did that. They wanted to be like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, we have a little creepy ghost girl that's always scary, right? Cuz it's never been done before." It's like,
What's
dude.
yeah, I kind of roll my eyes when I see the poster. It's like the poster has all the characters, but she's like in the center.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with the original? Like, I love there's plenty of them, but the original posters that usually just shows the cemetery, maybe Pascal, and then
And sometimes
church.
church. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. That's what my DVD box looks like. It's like Pascal
Mm,
and then like the cemetery and then yeah, church. Like that's
yeah.
cool. That's creepy.
Mm,
Again, subtle. Like they have to have all the characters on the new one. And I kind of felt like this whole thing, maybe because the change between Gage and Ellie like dying, it felt more like Ellie was like the main character. Like she was the main focus.
yeah.
And it took a lot away from Lewis and then Judd. Like I said in the and it kind of felt like it was a more Ellie like Rachel movie almost. At least at first it came across that way. Lewis came in a little bit more at like later, but I just felt like, and I remember more with Rachel and Ellie than I really honestly do with Lewis, maybe because Lewis was just so boring to me. But I feel like they wanted it to be, I don't know, it just felt like Ellie was like way more important and emphasized in this than she really honestly is in the book and the original movie. She's still important, but she's important in a really cool
Sh-
way because
Yeah.
she
She's
gives
important
the
with her
story
visions.
exactly, and they that not having that was awful. I know that they tried to give it to Gage, which was another thing we predicted. Do you remember that I said what if they tried to give it to Gage and you were like, "Oh, yeah, they might actually do that." And look, we predicted that too.
Yeah, and I was like, I mean, how are they gonna do that? And then, they did it, but then they didn't really do it because again, how is a fucking 2-year-old gonna communicate that?
Well, doesn't
So he's
Rachel
just,
say, "Are you saying Pat?" Does she say that to him in this one? I can't remember. Like when he's saying like Pat cuz he's saying it kind of weird like a little kid obviously wouldn't. I don't
right.
know if she
I
catches on
don't
to that or I don't remember.
I don't remember. Maybe if Lewis maybe he maybe mentioned Pascal's name to her at the beginning, like after he got killed, like, oh, this kid got killed, his name was
Yeah, it's Pascal.
maybe that could connect, and then she's like, why is he saying this? I could, but I don't honestly remember.
Well, because in the original, remember when she's like Pascal? Was she saying Pascal? Like Rachel says that in the
Yeah.
original, and then he's standing there and he says Pas. Like I love that whole scene. It's so good. But yeah, because that didn't happen in this one. At least I don't remember. Like I don't remember Pascal directly talking to Rachel. I could be
I don't
wrong. Maybe he. I
I
don't
don't
remember that though.
think so. I don't think so. But
Yeah, I don't
um,
like that either. He's supposed to be the
and I
comic
remember
relief.
he should, yeah. And I think, yeah, Gage was just saying Pascal in a way that it like you said, a 2-year-old, but he should have been saying Pax Cow. That would have been
Oh, I know. That's because that's Ellie. Oh, I love that.
Pax
Yeah,
Cow.
there was so much missing because of Ellie not having her visions, of fucking Rachel's parents not living a plane right away. Like, cause that whole ending scene where she's like running through the airports and you just want her to make it in time. It's like so epic and cool, and that's how
Yeah,
the book goes. But I don't understand how they said this is
yeah.
closer to the book than the original movie. That's
I,
ridiculous.
I mean,
Everything's different.
full stop. I don't. Anybody that says that, it's like you don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
I'll point you to
Oh,
again. I can point you directly to why this is not faithful. This
exactly.
this change, and then like like I don't
Yeah.
know, Until Dawn or the Walking Dead game. This one changed, and then it made all this other shit change for the
Exactly.
worse.
Because I thought it was just going to be the big plot. Okay, Ellie dies instead of Gage, but I thought they were going to at least stick to the material. It was completely, completely different. Things happened out of fucking order. Like, Church died really fucking early. Rachel knew about it. Judd didn't ever really meet Lewis. Like, there were so many little things that just made the original so good that, like, just weren't there. It was like, what? The whole fight with the parents, like, I like that's a thing in the, and I'm so glad Mary Lambert actually showed that too, like
I
the
know
fight at the funeral. Like,
that's a such a heavy scene that you wouldn't see in anything else, and that's the point
exactly.
because Pet Sematary is supposed to be heavy and uncomfortable. And I
Yep.
think just to point this out, I mean, as I said, I think the Rachel in this movie did better than the rest of them,
Right.
but I just want to point out because you just mentioned the funeral scene. I've been thinking about it. I think since we rewatched it, and I
Hmm.
really do. You always say her best moment in acting in the original in that funeral scene, Denise
Yes, Denise
Crosby,
Crosby. Yeah, when she screams, like when her
when she
dad like
screams, "Stop it!"
yeah, oh my god, she's
That
so good. Her voice like breaks and her faces are like she looks like she's legit like fucked up and cry. Like she looks like she's been crying
yeah,
for days. Like what an amazing actress. I definitely didn't get to that level with the Rachel in this one. Like I said, she is good and she did a lot of breakdown scared scenes pretty good, but she's not no one's
no,
up
no,
there with Denise Crosby. That was like that's a really
no,
powerful
no,
thing.
no way.
Like even
Yeah,
thinking about it, like with you just saying it, like gives me chills because I'm just like, wow, like she like really, and I don't think Denise Crosby had kids at the time, but she said like she just
yeah,
like
I think she
you
said
think
that.
about
Yeah,
yeah, you just like she was like I just had to put myself in this dark place, and she legit looks like, you know, I don't know, she's great. We got to talk more about the original because then I'll get happy.
do you want to move on to a transition from Ellie to Church
Oh,
since they're sort
Church,
of,
yeah, that
you know,
makes sense.
um,
I don't know. I feel like Church, like the cat that they picked is apparently like what the cat is supposed to look like. Like that's the cat
yeah,
mentioned
the
in the book.
cover of my it looks a lot like the breed on the cover of my book, which is like the original
Yeah.
edition.
Yeah, so I know
Like
it
a
wasn't
long
supposed
hair
to
or whatever.
be longer hair and like tabby looking or whatever. But like I feel like Mary Lambert changing that and going with the smoky gray cat, there's just something kind of like menacing looking about those cats. And the whole thing with the practical effect of them like flipping the lens on the camera so that the light reflected at the cat. Like remember
Yeah.
like every time you see Church's eyes glowing in the original Pet Cemetery, it's all real. Like it's all practical. It's not like CG or
hmm
anything. So I mean,
I can't remember if in this one, like the cat's eyes did ever glow. I'm sure
I
it
don't.
did, but
I
if
think
it
they
did, I'm sure
shine a
it's
little bit, but I don't think.
CG.
Yeah, I think they shine a little bit, but I don't think it's ever that green, creepy glow that he
Right.
constantly has in the original, which I fucking love. But I don't know. Again, just nothing special. Like I think it's fine, I guess, because it's
Mm.
I don't know. Church is such a like if you think about it, like people are probably like, oh, why are they focusing on just talking about the cat? Because like the church is obviously a big part of the
Church is an
story, and
important
yeah, an
character.
important
Yeah,
character,
regardless of
exactly.
if it's an
Yeah,
animal or whatever.
but I still prefer. I don't know. And I like how the cat just hates Lewis in the. I don't really remember any aggression with Lewis in the remake. Like the scene doesn't happen where he throws the rat. Oh, he's like
No.
chewing on a bird in their bed or something, right? Something like
Oh
that
yeah,
happens.
yeah. They were like kissing or whatever, and then they saw
Yeah,
church, and then like he's eating the and then like Rachel sees that the bird's still alive or whatever.
yeah, and she's like freaking out. But like again, they took so much from Lewis bonding with anybody. Like he doesn't bond with Judd. He doesn't really bond with Gage. He doesn't really even have that great of chemistry with Rachel. And
Right.
like even with the whole because him and Church have like the funniest relationship in the book and in the original, like when he buries him and he comes back. It's like I always love how Dina the in the film Den how she explains like, you know, I love Zombie Church because he's not really aggressive and he doesn't really hate anybody and he doesn't really want to kill anybody, but he just really, really zeroes all his aggression in on Lewis because it's like he knows
Right.
what Lewis did to him and he's pissed. He's like, "Why'd you do this to me?" So I like that. I like that they have that sort of like
Which is kind of funny, and
relationship.
I do kind of love it, just how much the cat
Yeah.
fucking hates him
I
after
know, and
that.
just always is fucking with him, but I don't honestly remember that. Maybe there's like one scene where he kind of
There was
hisses at him,
one,
but
yeah, they would like hissing, and I'm sure that was used for a jump scare once or twice.
oh yeah,
Um,
there was a
like
lot of those too heavy jump scare, which we predicted anyway. But
the one thing that I just saw on the Wikipedia thing that I did want to mention was about church, and I remember
hmm
thinking it was kind of a this is like the one moment I'd say that's kind of like disturbing,
really,
and like scary, I guess, if it was like a real life thing.
right?
Like there's one scene where Lewis goes into Gage's room and Gage is sleeping in his crib, and Church is like just sitting on Gage so he can't breathe.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I do remember that.
That's a
Yeah,
little,
that
you
is a
know,
little creepy.
bothersome. Yeah.
Yeah, cause and doesn't he like pick him up and put him outside? I forget what he does like to get him away from
Yeah, I
Gage.
think
Like
he
I think
picks
he.
him up and then the cat's just like freaking out or whatever. But I thought that was kind of disturbing, like just the
Yeah,
one thing with the cat that like it was trying to kill Gage just by suffocating him.
I know that's kind of fucked up, but yeah. I mean, Church wasn't awful, but I definitely prefer
No.
like the smoky gray,
Oh yeah, I
green,
do too.
glowy eyes of the original. Yeah, like that just is cooler,
Yeah.
a cooler looking cat anyway, and it looks more badass.
Yeah, especially and I like to try to mention it every time we talk about Pet Sematary officially, like a podcast or whatever. I'm sure I
hmm
mentioned it with our original one, but I had a cat who was just
Oh yeah.
as like insane as Church, but like the way Church in the movie in the original like would still stick with Ellie and like still loved Ellie or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the same with me, and I just love how crazy the cat was, and it was the same kind of breed or whatever.
It was like smoky
The
gray.
smoky. The only difference
Oh,
it was a girl, but
that's still
I
cool.
like to
That's
mention that.
yeah, that's awesome. I feel like you did tell me before that it was smoky gray, but I always
Yeah.
forget that detail, and that's fucking awesome that it looked like. You have to like if you find any like old pictures of her, you should send them to me because I want to actually like see what she looks like.
Oh yeah, I do have some. Yeah,
Oh,
and
that's cool.
I always think of 'cause I just got that they posted on Twitter that Church and Gage and Church pop
Oh,
figure
that's
from
awesome.
the
I know.
original movie. I love that they did it from the original movie.
I
You'd
know.
think, they the remake's coming out, let's do that. And the
I know.
people at Pop Funko or whatever were probably just like, no.
Nope.
I mean,
I don't
but like
even
anytime there's
like
something
collect pop figures, but I want that so
right,
bad because it's just awesome.
anytime there's something Gage in church, I'm always just like, oh yeah, that's me and my church. I just get
Oh, I know. I love
dapped
that.
for a second. But yeah, but yeah,
Wow,
the
that's really awesome.
church in this one, it was fine. There
Yeah,
wasn't anything like
horrible about
terrible
it, I
about
guess.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I do think, like you said, it might have been a little like creepy with Ellie, like when she's brushing church and like
Oh, yeah,
fur
the
blood is coming
and the
off.
skin.
So
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
feel
don't
like I
know.
don't have
Did
too many complaints about church,
I
but
don't either.
again, the
Overall, it
original
was.
is just, you know,
It's the
obviously.
breed of cat that they picked for the original is just awesome because that type of cat just looks like it's
Yeah,
up to
and it's
no
just
good
like
type thing.
we always joke about like, because they said, oh, you can train a dog to do so many things, but you can only train
Yeah,
a cat to do one
like
thing.
one
So
specific
they
thing.
had like
Yeah,
9 cats in the original.
yeah,
Um, I love again going back to how much it fucking hated Lewis and the acting of the cat. I just
yeah.
remember when Lewis gives Church the meat and then is getting ready to stick it like
And it's like,
kill it.
yeah.
There's like one shot where Church is eating the meat, and again, cat acting was actually good.
I
It
know,
was
right?
it was looking at Lewis out of the corner of its eye as
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
chewing the
yeah.
meat, and it's like, you fucker, don't you
Yeah,
touch me.
I love that. Oh my God, I don't like
Like, how
that
did they get the
movie.
cat
I know.
to not give its full attention to the food?
I love that. I know. It's like that movie has
And it
perfect
looked like
performances
piss
even
too,
from
just looking
Church.
at him out of the corner of his
I
eye.
I know he's like even when he plays dead, remember like that like cats like to get a cat to do that is probably so hard and it's legit
Yeah.
like the cat playing dead like when he
Mm.
sticks the needle in it or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
oh my God, Mary Lambert got the best cast even even church was
even at.
awesome. Yeah.
Well, I think we did all the a Gage.
Gage
Again,
downplayed though. There was
just
really nothing.
just like we said before we saw it,
Yeah.
he's just their other kid. He's just a toddler. There's
Yeah.
really they tried to force the whole he
Oh, he
sees
has visions.
Pascal
Yeah.
too, but
Yeah.
it was completely ineffective and neutered
Definitely.
because again, how can he communicate that, which he couldn't.
Exactly.
So again, he just was like, okay, that's their other kid. He's the 2-year-old kid. He's gonna live because they're not gonna kill 2-year-old.
Yeah.
But
He
I
doesn't have anything. I don't remember any highlighted like scenes with him actually, except for
uh,
like maybe the end where he points at Pascal, and then obviously the end that we both want to talk about. But like he was, yeah, like you said, just the other kid. Which even though Ellie is technically that in the original, I never got. You don't get that. She still contributes to the story because of her visions and because
yeah,
of the
that makes her
shining and
an
everything.
important piece of the
Exactly.
story.
Yeah, so it's not like, oh, they just have another kid. It's like, no, they have the two kids and they're both essential because, Gage is the one that dies and brings the tragedy on, but she's the one that can, warn Rachel and yeah,
Mm.
they didn't give Gage anything really except like yeah, he points and says Pascal and that's it.
Once.
Yeah,
Well,
once.
in that one scene, he just is repeating it. But yeah,
Yeah,
it, they again they robbed everything from Gage as far as his importance in the story,
exactly.
and gave Ellie all this other crap that you know was never part of her character. But
Yeah, I don't like it.
but yeah, there's really nothing else I have to say about Gage.
Me
I
neither.
guess since the movie kind of ends with him still alive, I guess that could lead us into the ending.
Yeah.
Uh, I thought the ending was so stupid.
Me too. They just bury each other. They just kill each other,
I know
bury
they
each other, and
just
make this little army of fucking like zombie people. Like it's so stupid.
it
Like, are they
was so
hinting at a
stupid.
sequel? Because that would be fucking no, 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 no.
Actually, interestingly enough, they have said that if it's successful, they're thinking that there's story to do a prequel. So
What? Really?
I get like something about what happened before the Creed's family got there. I
Oh,
don't,
great. Well, why would we even want to know that? And is John
I don't
Lithgow gonna be Judd again, just fucking
know.
messing everything up, messing up
Yeah,
Fred Gwynn's legacy?
but no, and I yeah, the whole thing about them just killing each other and burying each other was so stupid. So like, Ellie
Yeah.
kills
She just drags her fucking
Rachel, and
mom
then
all the way up
yeah,
to like that's
that
so
doesn't make any sense. Like how she would be able to do that.
yeah.
And it was kind of a funny a funny moment when I saw it in theaters. Like it's the same thing with It. When I saw It, there was just like a bunch of dumb teenage girls behind it. I could hear the whole time. Like at the end of It, it said It chapter 1 at the end, and they're like, "What? There's more to the story?" Like
Oh
they're
my God,
like,
that's how it was when I
idiot.
saw Pet Sematary. Idiot. When I
But
saw
there
Pet
was
Sematary, there was these teenagers next to me, and they're like, "Yeah." Every time something happened, they would like react, and they acted all. And then when it was over, that was awesome. That was so scary. It was like the scariest movie I've seen in a while. And I'm like, "Oh my God, get me out
I
of
know,
here."
but there was another thing where some dumb teenage girls, but like they show Ellie drag Rachel.
Rachel, right?
And then when Lewis gets impaled from behind by Rachel, before they show her, the
Yeah.
girls were like, "What? Who did that?" Like they showed her drag her, you
I
morons.
know it's so stupid. Oh my god, sitting like I hate to keep hating on teenagers. I sound really mean right now, but like sitting with like younger generations of people when you know a movie so it's just like ugh. I don't
Yeah,
know, like they don't even know. They probably have never even the ones I was sitting next to, and probably even the ones you were sitting near, probably never saw the original of any of the movie. Like that's why another reason I really detest remakes so much because I feel like it makes the original kind of fade into obscurity. Not really though, because they're always going to be classics and they're always going to be around. But like to me, it just makes me feel like that. Like, oh, these younger generations are watching Pet Cemetery
yeah,
2019. They think it's fucking awesome. And I'm sure if they tried to go back to the original now, it would just look too old and it'd be boring. It'd be more slow paced. It wouldn't be, fucking Zelda wouldn't be falling out of a dumbwaiter. She'd be choking to death, and that's boring in comparison to falling down a fucking retarded ass dumbwaiter. Like, I just am so stupid. But
yeah.
I don't know. That's another reason I'm always like, oh, remakes. They should just re-release the original in theaters. That would be fucking cool if they did that.
That would be awesome.
And it's been 30 years. They should have done that for like they do that sometimes when there's an anniversary, but
But unfortunately, they wouldn't make as much money if they re-released it because it's not a new thing.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, there was like a John Carpenter interview that I saw. I think I sent it to you a long time ago, where somebody asked him about remakes, and he sort of like nailed it and said like, there's so many remakes because there's already a
Yeah.
built-in awareness of that name and that brand, so they
That's
really don't
true.
have to do much to promote it. It's just like, oh, there's Pet Sematary coming out. Oh yeah, I remember there was an older one that I saw once or maybe
Yeah,
never
yeah,
saw,
yeah.
and someone
That's
told me it was
true.
scary. I'm gonna go see the new one.
That's very true. It's sad, but because and that's why remakes I feel like for the most part are always pretty shitty because they feel like they don't have to put the work into it. It's like, well, people are gonna see this, especially with like Stephen King remakes because it's like, oh, his name's on it too. Like, oh yeah, we're definitely gonna get views or and money, and it's just like, oh
Yeah,
my god.
yeah.
But I don't know. Overall, the ending was like no, like it and it took away from the whole grieving thing too. Like the movie isn't just a horror movie. I know I always say that in the book, especially like there, it's also about it's more emotional and more like it's about grief and death and how people deal with all that and how people deal with it differently. Like Rachel can't handle it and Lewis goes crazy and
Hmm.
Judd just feels real guilt. Like there's like so much raw emotion in each of the characters and everything. And then like at the end, it's just like, oh, Ellie drags fucking Rachel up to the burial ground to have like this posse of dead people instead of Lewis being super fucked up that his wife and child are both dead now, so he goes crazy and takes her. No, it's just like I
Yeah, like
Ellie
he's so
drags her up there.
crazy in the like he's so out of it or so like desperate for it to work. Like at the end of the
Yeah,
original, when Pascal's trying to stop him at the end, and
exactly.
he's saying, oh, she just died a little while ago. It'll work this
It might
time. Like
work.
he's trying to
Yeah,
convince himself because he wants it to happen so
and
badly.
it's
It's not
so
like
real. Like you believe it. You
zombie
believe
army.
exactly. That's such a dumb like it took so much away from Lewis and just the emotion in general.
Yeah.
Like, and it didn't feel. It felt so dumb. It felt like such a cliche Hollywood
Hmm.
2019 horror movie. Zombie fucking
I
posse
know.
here,
And just
like,
thinking about the endings of the original and of the
and the
ending of the
book.
book are just
Yeah,
so like effective. Like,
exactly.
he's so desperate for it to happen and he really wants it to work this time. And then it
Yeah,
comes back and, for a second you're like, oh, maybe. And
maybe she'll.
then you realize,
Yeah,
no, there's no way to fix this. And that's just
yeah.
depressing and bleak. And
I
the
know.
original, I like the book I like the ending in the book a lot too, that it's
Yeah,
like open ending and she just puts her hand on his shoulder and just says, darling, and then it just ends and you don't know if it worked. Those are
yeah,
really two really effective endings, and this was just stupid. Like they all come back and then they walk towards the car with Gage in the car,
yeah. And you knew
and
they weren't
then
gonna
what are they
show
gonna
them
do? What
doing
are they
anything.
gonna
Yeah,
kill Gage or
yeah.
just like take him with them? I don't know. And they're just gonna
It's
wander
stupid.
around.
I know, like that's so dumb. Like Judd's
Like that's
dead.
stupid.
Like
The idea, like some people have said, the thinking of the idea of the ending of the original, thinking like oh, Rachel's just wandering around out there
yeah,
somewhere. That's kind of
yeah.
creepy.
That is kind of creepy. Yeah, to think about. Like, and I don't think I could be. I honestly, like, in my opinion, after reading the book and watching the original, and I love it so much, I don't think that the dead person that comes back would honestly have even enough sense because they're supposed to be brain dead. They're dead. Like they know a lot of like horrible things they're not really supposed to know, but they're supposed to be brain dead. I don't think that they would even have enough knowledge to be like, let me take people up to the burial ground so I can make an army of us. Like that just is so stupid. That doesn't seem like that would be their goal or their mentality. Like when they come back, they're supposed to be just creepy, dead. I mean, they have that aggression in them, obviously, but like I just think that them thinking in their own head, their own dead brains, hey, I want to make a fucking army. Like that's just dumb. And then dragging people up there. And then shouldn't they not even be aware? I don't know. It's just dumb. The whole thing's dumb.
Yeah, that's a good way to sum up the ending. I guess my final thought on the whole thing is my my after we saw it, my brother, we were talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
My brother, my cousin, and my aunt and my mom, and he asked me, oh, so like, because we had to go another theater to get it. He asked me, so if our movie theater get it, you think you want to see it again? And I was like, no. So
What do you
that's a
say?
good way to. Oh, he kind of understood it, I
Okay,
guess.
so they get it.
Uh, um, I think I'll see it next when we watch it next. When it
Yeah,
comes out
yeah.
digitally. That would be
I'm.
fun. I'm not gonna pay for it again.
I know. I
Like
really
a
regret
full
spending.
theater price. I might
Exactly. I was
I
like,
might rent it digitally or like get it some other way where I don't have to pay for
Yeah,
it.
I don't
But
mind renting like for like 2.99, but I'm not gonna fucking spend like $10 on a fucking movie ticket. My boyfriend was like, "Can we go get our money back for that?" Like when it was over. And oh my god, we have to mention the fucking credit song because remember?
oh
Did you
yeah,
stay for it? Did you hear a little bit of it? I wanted to see if they would fucking do it, and of course they remade the
I
Ramones' Pet Cemetery song, and I think it's like a chick
it's like
singing.
a
Is that supposed to
female.
prove a point?
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
again I
no,
said
no, 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 no,
I was
no, no.
leaving the theater with my brother and I said, as we're leaving, the song is playing and I'm just like, well, that's what we needed, a fucking pop cover song of
I
the
know. My boyfriend was like, "Is this Pink? Like the artist Pink?" I'm like, "I don't think so," but he was like, "This is awful." Like,
and remember,
again, the teenagers next to us were so hyped when they said, "I don't want to be buried in a pet." They were like, "That's so cool! They even have a song for it." I literally just face palmed it and like walked out of it. I was so pissed.
well, interestingly, we did a podcast on or discussion a couple
Oh
years
yeah.
ago on the original, and recently it's been blocked, worldwide because that song was in there, but for 2 or 3 years there was no problem.
But
And
because now,
I remember
yeah,
I said, oh, maybe the song is in the new one, and now they're sort of co-opting it and they want to like be like, no, 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 we need to make money off of this now.
yeah.
Uh, exactly what they did. So
But I didn't
songs
expect it to
movie
be a
and
full Yeah, I thought it was just gonna be they would stick the Ramones song in there because that song still fucking rocks. Like that song's awesome. I don't understand why they had to go remake the song. Not only remake the movie and butcher it, but remake the song. That was stupid.
yeah.
But there we go. That's Pet Cemetery 2019 summed up in what? What did we talk for like an hour? Hour and a half?
That's our thoughts on it. Now I want to watch the original.
I know, right? Let's go watch it and do a good happy commentary and cheer ourselves up after talking about this
Yeah.
horrible movie.
Yes. That'll be our next Pet Cemetery related thing to come out, I'm sure.
Yay.
You never not
Um,
we can never talk too much about the original anyways and the book. And we can
exactly.
bitch about this. That's interesting too.
Well, I think when this one comes out, we should definitely do a bitchy commentary.
Yeah,
That
that'd
would
be
be
fun.
fun because like I said, there might be things that we both like forgot about the movie that we want to talk about. So
Yeah.
we'll just and when she falls down the dumbwaiter, I am gonna laugh. I'm just warning you right now. Every time I just say it now, it's just
I'm
ridiculous.
laughing just picturing it in my head.
Because it's so loud. I'm not. It is like I use the example of a net and the pipe just because, but like you said, that's a different type of humor because that's actually good humor. But it's so ridiculous. Like that's literally Zelda falling down a dumbwaiter. I think that's so dumb. Literally, ha ha
So dumb. Yeah.
ha.
Rachel? Is that you? I finally came back for you, Rachel. I'm going to twist your back like mine so you'll never get out of bed again. Never get out of bed again. Never get out of bed again. Never get